Welcome back, once again, adventurers, to Let's Play Chaos Head. In the last episode, after waiting for what seemed like an eternity, nobody came to greet Takumi Nishijo whilst he was loitering around in the convenience store. In fact, nobody came to greet him whatsoever. For some reason, all the pedestrians in the heart of Shibuya have mysteriously vanished. So either there's some kind of curfew going on, or there is actually something truly untoward that we cannot currently resolve. Now, to try and heighten his, well, to try and find um, anyone at all, anywhere in Shibuya, Takumi ran to the first place that he could possibly think of, which was the Shibuya crossing right in front of the 107 building. And much to his surprise, there was one person there. Only one person there. Someone who, bizarrely enough, is simultaneously a child and simultaneously not. He has the physique of a child, but he has the visage of an old man. And of course, he is in a wheelchair. He is the very figure you're all seeing right now, sitting comfortably in his wheelchair in the middle of the night at the very heart of the Shibuya Scramble pedestrian crossing. And he seems to have some insight into what's been going on in Shibuya, especially concerning the new gen incidents, because this individual has introduced himself as being none other than the enigmatic Shogun whom we encountered what feels like a lifetime ago in the chat room of Ensu. The very same Shogun who sent Takumi that rather unique photograph in the past from the future. For a second, I forgot to breathe. My head rocked with an impact akin to that of being struck with a hammer. The ground shook. You're not hallucinating, Takumi. You heard him correctly. This is Shogun. No, my body was tilting. I splayed a hand on the asphalt, holding myself up. Just now, what had he said? As I said before, you heard him correctly. Shogun. He was Shogun? Indeed.
忘れないで。君は逃げちゃいけない。
I raised my head and watched the Shogun, who had already turned his back to me, left. His wheelchair creaked as it slowly receded into the distance. And he left for us a very dire warning, adventurers. You must awaken, or more people will die. Do not forget. I thought about chasing after him and demanding all kinds of answers from him. But I didn't think of telling him, how dare you get me involved, and hitting him. That sort of thing didn't agree with me. Of course, if it were a delusion, then all bets would be off, but I digress. My head started aching. The area around my temples throbbed sharply. I curled into the fetal position and endured the pain. Takumi Nishijo's world has once again come crashing down around his ears.
Taku.
A single noise began to spread throughout the soundless world. Whose voice was this? It's not just one voice, many voices. The thing that had been a noise gradually transmuted into a real voice. Someone had placed a gentle hand on my shoulder.
邪魔なんだっつうの。何してんだろうね。
最近の若いもんは。
なんかのパフォーマンスじゃないの？
タク。
Something truly bizarre is happening here. Fighting with my headache, I raised my gaze. The demon girl, Rimi, was crouching over me, peering into my face. And also all of the people that had mysteriously vanished have now all magically reappeared. Did they actually disappear? Or was their disappearance yet another delusion? Reality and fiction has definitely been twisted to the point of no return, it seems. Clear eyes filled with life. Eyes that looked wholeheartedly at me. Only at me. The only person to actually sympathize with Takumi in this situation is all the other pedestrians and stragglers just scoff at Takumi and then leave him be. Again this girl had appeared so suddenly.
歩ける？歩いて。
And she's showing genuine concern, it seems. She slipped her hand around my side and tried to make me stand up. I shrieked and shook her off. Coming back to myself, I looked around. As before, I was in the middle of the road, but it wasn't empty anymore. There were people 360 degrees around me, in every direction, and they all walked whichever way they pleased without showing any interest in me.
タク。
Save for Rimi Sakihata. Looking as if she were about to cry, Rimi extended a hand towards me.
今は私の言うことを聞いて。夜だ!
When I yelled, the throbbing in my head changed to the direct pain. Even so, intent and uncaring, I crawled to open more distance between me and Rimi.
お前だろ！お前が見せたんだ！お前の妄想だ！
And Takumi is still convinced that Rimi is a demon.
僕の心を支配して精神攻撃を。
Although, given exactly what just happened with the people of Shibuya, not to mention Shogun, who has conveniently disappeared for the time being, and I don't doubt for a second that we'll be seeing him again in the near future. Takumi is, his perception has definitely been pushed beyond the breaking point.
この悪魔め！お前なんて剣で殺してやる！ベースに帰れば僕には理想。
An abrupt shock shot through my cheek. It stung and began to go hot. Rimi had slapped me. She was going to kill me for sure now. On all fours, I scrambled this way and that across the ground. But Rimi grabbed my hand in a flash. She pulled me towards her with a strength I found to be unbelievable, coming from a girl. Well, you did just refer to her as a demon, so... She embraced me. Her soft form enveloped me tenderly. She was very warm. She smelled ever so faintly of sweat. Her smooth, shining hair tickled the end of my nose.
しっかりして。
The With the wind out of my sails, my whole body threatened to go limp.
ここにいたら危ないよ。
There was a slight catch to her voice. I didn't know whether or not she was crying.
信号赤になっちゃってるから。
I was lost. She didn't intend to kill me? Why was she helping me? That hallucination from earlier. Where all the people in Shibuya vanished? It wasn't something she'd made me see? There was also, unfortunately, the small case of, again, that fateful evening in the alleyway. When I sensed such kind-hearted warmth, when she hugged me without the least bit of malice. It had the effect of shaking everything I'd believed up until now. It made me think that Rimi Sakihata wasn't a demon at all. Was I foolish? Was she pulling the wool over my eyes? Except one thing alone had become certain. With Rimi holding me, I felt incredibly relieved. I didn't know what to call this particular sensation, or peculiar sensation. Upon letting go of me, Rimi clasped my face in her hands and looked at me steadily again. Her eyes were a little reddish, so she was crying.
お願い。
And Rimi is actually correct. The traffic light is about to go red, and the cars are about to start moving.
今は私についてきていい？
Somehow, I ended up nodding. Right now, we were standing all alone in the middle of the crossing that everyone had vacated. The vast numbers of people waiting on the sidewalk for the light to change were paying close attention to us. I heard laughing voices come from here and there. Myriad cars pointed their headlights at us and began blaring their horns. Rimi took a firm grip of my hand and began running towards the sidewalk. I followed in her wake as she pulled me. As the honking horns scattered across us, we made it to the sidewalk. Rimi let out a relieved breath and pulled up short. She was still holding my hand. That by itself made my heart grow calmer and calmer. I wanted to give myself over to this serenity. I wanted to stay like this forever. If only reality could last that long. Rimi turned back in my direction.
無事でよかったね。
She smiled as though she were tremendously happy. I didn't think that expression of hers was a lie or an act. So in other words, Rimi Sakihata is not a demon out for Takumi's life or his blood or his soul, but is in fact a classmate, as corroborated by none other than Daisuke Mizumi. However, that being said, despite the fact that Rimi's attitude towards Takumi is in fact the genuine article, there is a little niggle in my intuition that is telling me she isn't telling us everything. However, my intuition is telling me that, at least for the time being, and possibly beyond that, Rimi Sakihata is someone to be trusted. But
話してよ。
again, there is still the matter of the sight of you being covered in blood. Whether it was the victim's blood or blood from a completely different source, or whether that was in fact a delusion, There were too many unanswered questions regarding that night. Because up until now I had been utterly hostile towards her. Because up until now I had thought she was a demon. You even believed that Yua Kusunogi and even the bizarre Shogun were in fact the subordinates and underlings to Rimi Sakihata. If I let her win me over, I felt like I'd cease being myself. Something tells me that that ceased a long time ago.
あ、ごめんごめん。
She quickly dropped my hand.
それにしてもびっくりした。タクが道の真ん中でうずくまってるんだもん。
And Rimi is actually behaving rather normally, insofar as normal is.
信号が赤になった時はどうなることかと。
I turned my back to Rimi as she began talking cheerfully. I walked off, winding my way through the hordes of people.
僕帰る。
It's been a very long night for Takumi Nishijo, and his every certainty has now been shattered in front of his eyes.
じゃあ送るよ。具合悪いんでしょ。
Her voice followed me from behind, but I shook my head to refuse her. For even now, Takumi Nishijo is still wary of Rimi's presence, but now, for the first time, for entirely different reasons.
タク。
The cheerfulness had vanished from Rimi's voice. I felt awful, since he had done so much to help me. So...
ありがとう。
I just barely managed to squeeze out those two words. But believe me when I say, Takumi Nishijo, that was worth it. To think that the three investigative teams would actually be combined into one. Looks like we're back with the Shibuya Police Department and the combined efforts to actually delve into the heart of the new-gen investigation cases. However, this is pretty much going to be a stopping point for this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Head. And when we return, adventurers, we shall see what the combined Shibuya police task forces have actually managed to uncover over the recent new-gen incidents. As always, until next we meet.